We have to understand one thing.
What?
This country is just as racist as it was when our ancestors was in slavery, when they were going through Jim Crow, Reconstruction, and even till this day, there's this plan, there's this strategy to eradicate Black people from the face of the earth, especially right here in the United States of America. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm just giving the systematic ways that they've been displaying how the Trump administration, as well as the Biden administrations past that, they just have different tactics. They have different strategies of how to keep Black people poor, how to keep Black people destitute. But the racists, they would just love to say, oh, that's because they eradicated DEI and affirmative action. Absolutely not. These are grants, these are loans, these are resources, these are the same things that every single American have benefited from. Now, Black people more so than anyone else, because guess what? We understand that the large majority of white people don't want us working with them. And even when we try to create our own businesses, we are Americans. We've been here before the inception of the country, but we don't have the same leverage. We don't have the same rights. We don't have the same privileges. We don't have the same resources because it was designed that way. You would just like to believe that it was based upon merit. That's what you would like to believe because that's what the administration would tell you. But we understand that is not the case. We understand that every Black person that you see successful had to get it out the mud, or as you may equate to, that they're selling drugs. But nevertheless, this is another tool in the administrative uniparty tool bag in order to keep Black people destitute and poor. And you're like, what in the hell is Blacklogic talking about?
The Trump administration is cracking down on people who have been defaulting on their student loans. Starting next year, the administration will begin garnishing the wages of those in default. Notices go out next month. Millions of borrowers are considered in default, meaning they are 270 days past due on their payments. The department must give borrowers at least 30 days notice before they start garnishing their wages.
Now, before we get political, ladies and gentlemen, we need to be clear about the language. A federal student loan in default, when you have not made a required payment for 279 days, roughly 9 months, when that clock kicks, the federal government stops calling you a borrower and starts calling you a delinquent debtor. And under federal law, a delinquent debtor has fewer rights than the person who owes the credit card bill to a private bank. And here's what the federal government can do to you in default with no judge, no jury, and no court. They can garnish up to 15% of your disposable wages through something called administrative wage garnishment. They can intercept your entire federal income tax refund through the Treasury Offset Program. And believe me, I owe taxes out the yin yang and I still have to pay them no less. They can offset up to 15% of your Social Security benefits if you are a senior in default on a loan you co-sign for a grandchild. They can block you from getting a passport. They can stop you from re-enlisting in the military. They can keep you from getting bonded for a trucking license, a daycare license, a real estate license, no less, in more than a dozen states. No judge, no jury, just a letter. This is the machine that switches back on May 5th of this year. A lot of these things I'm telling you guys, please be proactive about, because this administration, I don't know which one is worse. The Biden administration letting in 20 some odd million illegal immigrants that destituted the Black community from the ground up, or the Trump administration that's destituting the Black community from the top down. And they're doing it through economic racism, and they're doing it very strategically through executive orders, just enough to destroy the meager middle class that Black people had in the first place.
It will never end.
Now, if you guys have been paying attention, you know collections did not pop out of nowhere. They were frozen during COVID in March 2020. Now, the Biden administration built something called the SAVE Plan in 23. Income-driven repayment where single borrowers making under $30,000 owed $0 per month. And the balance did not grow from unpaid interest. For the first time in a generation, a working Black graduate making 28 grand at a daycare or a nursing home had a $0 monthly payment that actually kept their balance from ballooning. 8 million people who loan money signed up. 3.4 million of them were Black. Then in 2024, Republican attorneys general from 7 states, Missouri, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, North Dakota, and Ohio, sued. The 8th Circuit Court of Appeals blocked the program. The Supreme Court declined to intervene. And when the Trump administration walked back in the door of January of last year, they did not try to save it. They buried it. SAVE is dead. If you guys will count on that, it's absolutely eradicated. The education department closed the application portal on March 1st of last year.
Lordy, that would be really bad.
Every person who saved money on the Save Act got transitioned, quote unquote, into a repayment plan where payments average $358 a month.
Huh? What?
That was the so-called medium. And for people who 12 months earlier were paying zero, do you know how many Black families have $358 a month lying around in the year 2026 after the tariff inflation, after the massive cutoff of the federal government where Black people were disproportionately represented because no corporate administration would possibly give them high-paying jobs just as well as their cohorts? It's based upon merit, they tell us. It's based upon your academic achievements and your pedigree and your professional portfolio. And we decided that was a lie.
Yes, definitely.
They only want to take the top 1% of Black academia, Black intellectuals, while they take the bottom 40% of everyone else. See, after SNAP cuts, after the 8 Alpha federal contract program got gutted, zero. The answer is zero. And Washington knew that when they pulled the plug. See, there's a list of different receipts and evidence to prove what I'm saying, because this is not conjecture in any form or matter. Total federal student loan portfolio, $1.8 trillion. The number of borrowers in any stage of delinquency as of March of this year, 9.2 million. I'm giving you guys all these numbers for you guys to keep it right here, because the numbers technically are in default and about to be referred to the Treasury Offset, 7.3 million. And of those 7.3 million, according to the Student Borrower Protection Center, that report that came out this year, and you do a racial breakdown, about 2.7 million are Black people that borrow money to go to school. Now, that's what I was stating, that some legislation, regardless of your race, may benefit Black people because they understand that it was going to benefit white people. So again, in the Bible, it states that God reigns on the just and unjust. Same here. Now the rates. White borrowers default rate in 2026 as well, 6.1%. Latino borrowers default rate, 15%. Black borrowers default rate, 21.4%. See, Black borrowers are going into default at 3.5 times the rate of white borrowers on the same loan program. And again, if you look into the statistics, they are systematically imposing racial will on the lower class of America, which they know are Black folk. And the people who are on the seesaw going back and forth, majority of white, I would like to believe, or people who have done well in life, regardless of their race, they would like to believe that's because, oh, Black people are lazy, the ongoing historical racial trope, which we know isn't true. But nevertheless, oh, they're low IQ. This is the reason. So you guys believe that a whole race of people, regardless of the achievements, regardless of the inventions that we created, regardless of the advancement in humanity that we have contributed. And you're like, what are you talking about? Just look it up. Look at Black inventions. Look at the things that we have done. You like to believe that we're low IQ, and we absolutely are not. I don't believe no race of people are all conglomerate or the majority of them are low IQ. No. That's a racial stereotype. And stereotypes, the reason why on the surface they may seem more true than they are false is because, they will like to show you the lower half of a particular demographic versus the higher half. And it's not because we borrow more money recklessly. That's not it. Because that's what people say. Well, you guys are just borrowing money recklessly and you don't have the financial revenue to back it up. It's because we borrow with less cushion. The median Black undergraduate finishes a bachelor's degree with $42,000 in federal debt. The median white undergrad, finishes with $26,000. Same tuition, different family wealth. We are not borrowing money for fun. We are borrowing money because the median white family in this country holds $188,000 in net worth, and the median Black family holds $44,000.
Hypocrisy, my friend.
We're talking about damn near 4 times the amount. You say, well, go out and get an education, then you can get some of these high-paying jobs. Then we do that. And then no one's hiring all of a sudden. Black unemployment is at 7.2, 7.5%, 2 or 3 times the national average of a white person, of a Hispanic person, of an Asian person. Are you saying we're less capable? And I know some of you would love that question. Just put it in the comment section. You're going to say yes. But see, Black family hold only 44,000. And it's not because we're not educated. It's not because we're not capable. It's not because what they like to put on the surface that we're lazy, because we're not. See, when your parents cannot cut you a check, the federal government becomes your cosigner. And then 30 years later, your creditor. This is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. This is by design. So what is happening on May 5th of this year, here's the actual mechanics behind it, because nobody in corporate media is walking you through it. On April 1st of this year, the Department of Education handed the default loan portfolio back over to the Treasury Department. That transfer was announced April 21st by Education Secretary Linda McMahon in a press release that most of you never saw because it dropped in on a Tuesday morning while the cable networks were still chasing the weekend news cycle. They know exactly what to do and when to do it. See, May 5th is the first active collection date. That morning, Treasury starts sending what they call TOP notices, which is the Treasury Offset Program letters to every default borrower. You get 65 days to respond. If you do not respond, they begin taking your federal tax refund. And a lot of you, especially I know a lot of my Black brothers and sisters, you depend on your federal return. You depend that throughout the year, the federal government, the state government has been garnishing your wages, paying Social Security, paying Medicare, paying all these other taxes that you have no power of controlling.
Okay.
And then when you file your tax return, you know that you may get $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. Some people even get $15,000 and you wanted to upgrade your car, fix your car, buy a new car, put a down payment on the house. But no, if you guys are delinquent on your loans, if you guys have not been paying your loans, then you got 65 days. Because if you do not respond, they begin taking your federal tax refund. If you filed your 2025 return this past tax season and you are expecting a refund, they can take 100% of it. Now, granted, some of you probably already got your tax refund. Guess what they're going to do? Don't you bank on getting it next year, because you're not. See, not 15% of your tax refund, the whole damn thing. The earned income tax credit is not exempt. Your child tax credit is not exempt. They take it all. Then 90 days later, August 5th, Treasury switches on administrative wage garnishment. Your employer gets a letter. Your employer has to withhold up to 15% of your disposable wages and send it to the Treasury. So there's no way of getting out of it, right? Because they have all the applicable numbers of where you work, how much you make, and they're going to take 15% of it.
We all know that now.
You do not have to agree. Don't worry about it. You don't have to agree. Your employer does not have to agree. You're found out in your next pay stub. And if you're working two jobs, they can hit both of them. And then the cruelest one, if you're on Social Security retirement or Social Security disability, they can offset 15% of your monthly check down to a floor of $750. $750. That is the federal poverty floor. So if you are a Black grandmother living on $1,200 a month because you co-sign for a grandchild's Parent Plus loan. So if you are a Black grandmother living on $1,200 a month because you co-sign for a grandchild's Parent Plus loan 15 years ago, the Treasury can legally walk your check down to $750 starting this summer.
Really?
This is how they pay for the tax cut. Now, here's the part they really do not want you guys to truly understand. This is not about recovering money for the taxpayer. This is about putting the federal student loan portfolio back in the hands of private debt collectors, because these how does politicians get these slush funds and black money and dark money and behind the curtain money. They just get the money. Because under the 2026 Education Department contract relaunch, 4 private debt collection agencies, and if I can recall them correctly, one of them was called like Maximus, Performant, Coast Professional, and ConServe. Look them up.
Go Google that shit.
Because they are splitting a 10-year, $11 billion federal contract to work defaulted student debt. They're getting private contractors because they cut 277,000 people from the federal government. If the federal government is going to garnish your wages, why aren't the federal government being the debt collector to get the money? They do it with the IRS, do they not? But nevertheless, they contracted private sector. That's interesting enough. The one thing that the private sector don't have to display to the American people is who is getting paid on the back end. So for every dollar you get garnished those four companies take a commission between 16 and 24%, depending on the recovery method. And out of that 16 to 24%, how much are they backfilling to the federal government or to maybe some of the legislators who will be a part of this? This is up to $2.6 billion in private profit skimmed off the pain of 7 million Americans and possibly even more. So when Linda McMahon steps on stage and says that, and I quote, by the way, because in paraphrasing, borrowers need to take responsibility for their debt. What she is actually saying is Maximus stockholders need their quarterly earnings called to be green. You know, not that I hate rich people. It's not that. I just hate when rich people tell poor people or less fortunate people to pay whatever that they owe. And if there's on deferment or if they were paying small monthly payments and then you come out and say, well, we eradicated this legislation and bill and you have 75 days to pay in some regards, all of the money or the amount that was previously agreed upon, then all of a sudden you start to think like, what in the hell is going on? Because no one has been watching this. No, I have heard really no remnants, no noise, no plaster all over, mass media and telling people that May 5th is the date. May 5th is the date, ladies and gentlemen. And for those with student loans, I hope that you're aware of what's about to go on and that will go on. These are not moral categories, by the way. Those collection companies are corporate categories. Responsibility is a word they only pull out of the drawer when the bill is due from us and never when the bill is due for them. And the question to me is, when you look at the administration, the current administration that is, everyone up there is either a millionaire or billionaire. Because that's the part that I really, truly understand is that they're willing to hurt a few white people. They're willing to hurt a few Hispanic people. They're willing to hurt a few Indian people, Native American people, as long as they hurt a vast majority of Black people. Now, some of you may not agree with that. But see, right here, we don't explore outrage. We diagnose power in the legislations and the bills and the policies and the executive orders, and we examine them and we look through them and we comb through them and we understand what's happening on a systematic level. This is not about fear-mongering anyone. This is about informing you guys of what the hell is going down and how we can possibly counteract it. Because even though the diagnosis state for itself was going on May 5th, I think that we should definitely move to the prescription. And for you guys who are just cutting in on the video or spared through, let me remind you of what the hell's going on, because I think it's utterly important.
Student loan borrowers who are already in default could soon feel the impact in their paychecks. The Trump administration says it will restart wage garnishment early next month, marking the first time collections like this have resumed since the start of the pandemic. Beginning the week of January 7th, thousands of borrowers will start receiving notices, with more expected to follow. Under federal law, the government can take up to 15% of a borrower's after-tax wages, and it can also withhold tax refunds and even Social Security benefits. More than 5 million borrowers are currently in default. That number could soon grow. Consumer advocates say borrowers should act now by contacting the Department of Education's default resolution group to explore options like loan rehabilitation and avoid garnishment.
So here's what you guys can do. And I know that, it's a day away from May 5th or today is May 5th. Here's what you guys can do. Log into studentaid.gov right now and check your loan status. Do not wait for Treasury to tell you, because if it says in default or transferred to Treasury, you are on the May 5th list. This is one of the indicators you guys can absolutely check. Number two, if you are in default, you have two legal off-ramps. One is rehabilitation, not on time, reasonable and affordable monthly payments, as low as $5 a month. And the default comes off your credit report. And the other is consolidation. You bundle the defaulted loan into a new direct consolidation loan and choose an income-driven plan. Consolidation is faster. Rehabilitation cleans your credit report better. You just have to pick your battle on this one. This is something you have to come up with your own. And here's another one. If you're already being garnished or about to be garnished, request a hardship hearing. See, 30 U.S.C. 1095A gives you the right to challenge wage garnishment. Again, 30 U.S.C. 1095 Alpha gives you, or A, gives you the right to challenge wage garnishment if it creates extreme financial hardship, as I think it will for a lot of Americans. You can download the form, you can fill it out, send it certified mail. They have to pause, or they're supposed to, while they review it. If you work in the public sector, a 501, C3, a school, a hospital, the military, or even your local government, check your public service loan forgiveness eligibility. The 2026 rule changes kept 10-year forgiveness intact for most qualifying employers. Now, you may be closer to zero than you think. 47% of Black federal loan borrowers work for a PSLF qualifying employer and never filed the paperwork. That means that you guys still owe money, but you have the propensity, you have a possibility of not owing really anything. And you really should explore that. And tell somebody, tell your barber, your hairdresser, tell your church, tell your group chat, every default borrower you reach before May 5th is a wage you save, a refund you save, a Social Security check you save. The silence is the weapon. We break the silence here. We break the weapon. See, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give it to you straight because this channel does not traffic in soft takes. You know that. There is nothing in the United States Constitution that requires a Black bachelor's degree to cost 66% more than a white bachelor's degree in out-of-pocket debt. There is nothing in the Constitution that requires Treasury to take a Black grandmother's Social Security check down to the poverty floor. Those are policy choices, and policy choices can be unmade. The SAVE plan was not killed by the market. It was killed by 7 Republican attorney generals, 1 8th Circuit bench, and 1 Supreme Court that chose not to intervene. Every one of those people was to put in office by somebody. Every one of those people can be voted out by somebody. And this is why you guys should, again, go to ourvoicevote.org. My website, totally free. Donate if you want. Don't donate. But here's the point. The midterm is November 3rd of this year. 27 United States Senate seats are on the ballot. And the line between a wage garnishment and a wage floor is on the vote in that particular chamber. And this can absolutely help you on a state level. See, don't put on your blinders for the Democrats. Oh, the Republicans are doing this. The federal Republicans are doing this. What about the Republicans in your state? Or what about the Democrats in your state? Go with either party who's going to benefit a lot of these bills. They're going to stop them from garnishing your tax return and garnishing your wages. They did not just come for the SAVE plan. They came for every Black graduate who believed that the country, when it said an education was a way out. Education is a way out. Just get your education and you guys will be doing well. You'll close the wealth gap. We're going to show them the way back. Diagnose this power. Comb through it, share with somebody who may be in this predicament. Check your status on these websites and protect your paycheck. And if anything, we need to stay really dangerous with the truth.